Today we're covering the Falcon. No, not that Falcon. That's a different Falcon. Today on Comicology. Yeah, it's funny because the Falcon is such like a generic superhero name. It was bound to be copied at some point, right? But in this case, it's a district attorney named Carl Burgess, and he had the name long before Sam Wilson was even an idea. He first appeared in the 1940s, which was about 30 years before Sam Wilson was created. He has also nothing to do with Sam Wilson before you get that idea. The Falcon is a vigilante operating outside of New York. He has no superpowers and carries no gadgets, but he is one hell of an effective hand-to-hand fighter. And he has the most exemplary trait of a Falcon costume, a costume that makes him look just like a bird. Falcon made a grand total of 3 appearances in the Golden Age, and we are going to cover all of them right now. First, let's start with the Falcon's origins. Well, actually not really an origin. The Falcon doesn't have an origin. We never get to see the circumstances by which Carl Burgess dresses up like a bird and fights crime, but this is the closest we get. The story begins with good old Carl working as the district attorney on a case trying to put away a local mob boss named Big Jim Peterson. Remember that name. It's going to be important later. Court is adjourned and agreed to begin the next day, so Carl decides to go home. This is when he happens to stumble upon a woman named Mrs. Bankhead. Her husband has been kidnapped and she is looking for help fulfilling the ransom. At this point, Carl Burgess decides that the Falcon is going to bring these slimy crooks to justice. So he puts on his Falcon suit and goes to work tracking them down. He secretly delivers the ransom to one of the thieves, and then follows him to their secret hideout on the outskirts of town. Then he gives them a good wallop for kidnapping old Mr. Bankhead. After realizing they have been defeated, the kidnappers confess that they work for Big Jim Peterson. Falcon takes this new evidence to the court and gets himself a conviction, sending Big Jim to jail for a good long time. I told ya, it all comes around in the end. I mean, this story wasn't so bad. It's got substance to it. If only the district attorneys would solve all their problems by dressing up as a giant Falcon and punching people. Honestly, while reading this, I got some Daredevil vibes, specifically when he used his position as district attorney to get involved in crime. I thought that was spectacular, perhaps even an inspiration for Daredevil down the line. Then again, I mean, who wasn't a district attorney in the Golden Age, right? The next story features the Falcon as he battles an evil witch doctor who murders his victims with evil death sticks. You can see one of the evil death sticks here. It was just used to kill a man who happens to be known as an enemy of Dr. Sunga, the witch doctor. Carl uses his information and decides to investigate Dr. Sunga himself. Dr. Sunga sends one of his henchmen to stop the Falcon's pursuit of justice. He attempts to drop a tree in front of the Falcon, but instead of crashing, the Falcon dodges the tree and gives the henchman a good sock for the attempt. Then he takes the henchman hostage and follows him back to Sunga's lab, where he is able to examine on one of the death sticks. Falcon, who is apparently also a scientist, discovers how the death stick works and alters it to be used as a weapon against Sunga. Sunga drops the Falcon into a deadly alligator pit, but thanks to his superior physical strength, he is able to battle against the alligator and escape the pit before it bites his head off. Finally, the Falcon throws the death stick at Dr. Sunga and it explodes, causing him to die instantly, just like his victims. After that, the Falcon rounds up the rest of Sunga's gang and brings them to justice, effectively ending the threat forever. For those who didn't catch it, essentially the mystery of the death sticks is actually the same as a lot of other Golden Age supervillains. There was this common trope back then, right? That many villains would claim to hold some kind of supernatural power, like a death touch or something like that. But often the phenomenon would turn out to have some basically like scientific explanation, such as poison or gas. In this case, the death sticks were not the result of a curse or anything like that. They were just metal rods, which held an electrical charge, and the first person to touch them would have the electricity surge through them and ground itself, which would cause them to die instantly, seemingly supernaturally. This is why he would send them to his enemies in care packages, because whoever would open the package would surely be the first to touch it. So now we have the final Falcon story. In this one, he takes on a gang of vicious bank robbers who don't mind killing citizens with reckless abandon. Seriously, these guys don't know a thing about subtlety. They just robbed a bank and now they're just in a car, just firing round after round into random people. They have a machine gun and they're opening up into this crowd. It's completely crazy. And then the police are firing back and people are just dying left and right. Luckily, the Falcon has some insight into the crime. He goes to visit a crooked lawyer by the name of Butterworth to figure out where the gang is hiding. He works him over, but it's no use as the gangsters are already in the building. They burst into the room, and there's a big fight. The Falcon smashes them good, but in the end, there's only so many punches he can hand out before he gets tired, and so the gang ends up knocking him out. The gang boss decides that he's too dangerous to be allowed to live, so they decide they're going to execute him. But on the way to the execution, the Falcon escapes, and he sends the car straight off a cliff to its death. Then, the Falcon learns that their plan is to drill into the bank's vault from the underground. He intercepts them during their plan by utilizing a smoke grenade. He halts their progress to the bank. They try to abort the robbery by running away, but they find the police waiting for them outside. The rest of the gang is rounded up, and another successful case is logged into the books for the Falcon. And after that, the Falcon is never heard from again. Apparently, this case was too much for him because he decided to quit. There are rumors that he activated once again a few years later to participate in a fight against the Nazis in World War II, but I couldn't find anything on that. He did help in the battle against the Red Skull when the Red Skull tried to use the power of the Cosmic Cube to essentially take over the world. You can see him here on the corner of this page where it cuts off. Apparently, he's not doing too good. However, you can also see him on the cover of the final issue of this series in which everything gets set back to normal when Captain America takes back the cube and rewrites history. Even though he doesn't actually appear in that issue, it does expressly state that he survived the conflict, but I wouldn't like to think that he did and that Carl Burgess is out there living a happy life somewhere, at least. So anyway, that's it for this episode of Comicology. Thanks everyone for watching. The second issue of Vigilance is available for you to buy from my website. I will put that in the link below. Also, if you liked reading these comics and you'd like to read more comics with me, go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.